Welcome to the first episode of the Gallimaufric Science Podcast. I am one of your hosts, one of four. My name is Scott, and to my immediate proximity is Raven.
Hi, I'm Raven, and Scott and I are a husband and wife artist team out of Wasilla, Alaska.
Indeed.
And I would like to introduce our co-host, Zach Miller from Anchorage.
Hello. How are you?
I am doing just fine, thank you, sir. And then all of the way across the globe, we have Tommy Long in Australia. Say hello, Tommy.
Hello, Tommy. So some of you might know me from Twitter with the Twitter handle at @the_Apesiarch, where I sometimes shit post about biology. That seems to be the thing that I do these days. But the other thing you might know me for is writing the Parasite of the Day blog and also running the Twitter account of Journal of Helminthology, which is a parasitology journal. So it's a legit peer-reviewed journal. They asked me to run the Twitter account, and I've been going off, as the kids say, ever since with it.
Yes, he has. And if you haven't already checked out the Journal of Helminthology, I am not a parasite person at all, but I absolutely love to read and retweet some of these things that Tommy shares out from that blog.
I technically have a Twitter account, but I'm barely on anymore. I just have other things to do with my time, I guess. So also it's very stressful being on social media. So
Yeah,
Yes,
to be
it is.
honest, even as someone who would use it often, like if you don't already have a Twitter account, it's not a thing that I would recommend. There's like many other things I would recommend people do before they get a
Like, go
Twitter.
outside
Yeah.
and play.
well, yeah. or
Eating
or
like a big plate
What?
of cheese
Outside?
is
There are
more
bears
recommendable
outside.
than. There's also people not wearing masks outside, but that's
Oh, yeah.
another
That's
That
like
is
the
a
very
worst
true.
for the
point.
bears.
Stay home, folks.
they
Stay
are
home.
worse than the Bears. The Bears aren't going to give you the COVID-19, so let's
Not that we know of
not yet.
not yet.
No, watch. They'll give us super bear pneumonia here instead.
Benom. What would that be called?
I have no idea.
Bemonia.
Bearmonia. We don't really take things very seriously on this podcast, but when we do,
I don't know if the
we
people
do.
can tell that.
I think they'll pick it up on as we go along, though.
So this isn't our first rodeo with a podcast. Zach, Scott, and I have done a podcast prior to this together called the Dino-Rama podcast. I don't know if you remember it from ye olden times, but we enjoyed doing it, and now we're finally back with some better equipment and a good outlook on life, right? Right?
Different outlook, maybe?
Maybe different.
Different outlook, yes. And if you were one of our dozen listeners back then, we apologize for not continuing. But things just happened.
As they do.
As they're wont
I
to
have
do.
never hosted a podcast before, but I have been on other people's podcasts and radio. So I've been invited onto podcasts and podcast-like things. So that seems to be the thing that I do. I get myself invited onto things instead of hosting any of my own.
Hey, now you can break that curse, as it were, and host your own with us.
I guess kind of. Yeah.
This week, of course, is a getting to know you episode, episode 1. We are just kind of getting people up to speed if they're not familiar with our work. You can catch me on Twitter at AlaskaAnime, one word, portmanteau of Alaska and anime. Show notes will have correct spellings and links, of course.
Right. And I'll be putting up the podcast to CGFX.US. That's CGFX.US. We'll have a special blog for it as well once I get everything edited together.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at @the_Apesiarch. So Apesiarch is EPISIARCH. It seems like I have designed my Twitter handle so that people can't find me.
It's ideal, really.
That really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But it's it's named after that one obscure alien from David Byrne's Star Tide Rising, the Uplift
Yes.
trilogy. So
That's one of
if
my
you're
favorite
wondering
books,
what
by
that
the way.
is. Yeah. So you can either find me at that or find me at Journal of Helminthology or J Helminthology. That's like the Twitter job that I could do. So that's the paid account that I do professionally. and then there's my personal account, which these days I mostly shitpost. I used to tweet a lot more about science and stuff like that until I realized that's not what Twitter wants. Twitter wants shitpost. So shitpost
memes.
instead.
Shitposts and memes.
And Zach, where can we find you?
So I'm on Twitter at zmiller1902. I mostly tweet about either science or Nintendo stuff. I've been writing for and podcasting with a site called Nintendo World Report for, like 14 years.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
the site's been around since 2000, but we're still somehow kicking around. And but my main passion is Mesozoic dinosaurs, and so you'll often see me retweeting new papers and info stuff about them. I used to draw them, but I really don't anymore because I'm not very good at it, and my time is better spent doing other things.
But you still draw, and occasionally you make a stab at it, and you have a
Yes.
blog too.
Oh, I do have a blog. Yeah, you're right.
One of us was prepared for that.
Well, I'd kind of forgotten I did. I have a blog called Waxing Paleontological, and the last post was, I think, in February. But it tries to go into deep dives about obscure Mesozoic groups, and I just have not had a lot of time to really research a new post. But it's there if people want to read it.
That kind of reminds me, I also have a blog that I just forgot to mention. It's the Parasite of the Day blog that I've been kind of administrating and writing for over the last 10 years or so. I inherited it from Susan Perkins, who used to be at the American Natural History Museum. So she started it up in 2010, and then afterwards was like, what do I do with this? And she handed it over to me to run, and eventually went from just a thing that features like a little vignette about parasites to where I basically look for recent research in parasitology and write about interesting ones. And occasionally I still host like guest posts from students and stuff like that. So yeah, so Parasite of the Day blog is where you'll find my proper long form writing as opposed to the shit posting that I do on Twitter, because it's Twitter. Nobody got time to read words or sentences. It's just images. So yeah. So if you want to read my writing, actual proper writing, you go to the Parasite of the Day blog. If you just want to come for the shit posts, just come to my Twitter account.
I guess technically I have a couple blogs I sort of forgot to mention, but they're not really relevant to science per se. One of them is...
I just mentioned them anyway.
Oh, all right. Okay. One of them is called Game Restart. It's about me getting back into the gaming hobby after a long... so that can be found on orc.one/gr. And I have a small art blog as well on the same site, so... which I forget the URL too. So take my word for it, it exists.
We're on the internet somewhere, people.
Yeah.
It's somewhere.
We'll have links in the show notes after the end.
Right, that'll be our.
Yeah.
That'll be that covers me. Yes.
Yes, you can
So
fix
I
it in
have
post.
Yeah. So out this podcast, we have like 2 people who do long form writing on gaming, actually. So
Oh, who are
Zach
they?
with
That's true.
Nintendo,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
that's
you got Scott with your gaming podcast. Oh no, not podcast, gaming blog.
Yeah. So it's more of a retrospective per se than it is an actual piece of what I would consider journalism or anything like that. I don't do reviews, not really. It's mostly like if I get something new, I'll talk about it, but it's not like I'm reviewing this as a product per se.
Mm.
I don't know how to do that actually. All I know how to do is type a bunch of words that are relevant to my experiences and pretend it's a blog. So
That's basically what a review is.
Yeah.
oh my god,
Yeah,
I've been doing this all
Yeah,
along.
that's a review. Yeah,
And-
except that if you call it a review, you'll get more people hating you because
Oh.
that's
Oh,
what
sure,
people
sure.
do online.
If you
Well, in that
score
case-
the new Zelda game at a half a point below what people think it should be,
How dare you
You're
give it
asking for trouble.
7.5 out of 10? Yeah,
That's why I only-
7.5 out of 10.
I'm only going to rate things in terms of plastic. I'm not actually going to give them stars or numbers. That's just not what I do.
I like that.
So in that case, I want to clarify that the Commodore 128 released in 1985 is a good computer if you're into that sort of thing. Okay.
And as far as my blogging goes, I have lapsed horribly, terribly. I used to have a pretty active one called the Caw Box, but I've let that go for almost a decade at this point. Every now and again, I update, post some new art on our CGFXUS site for in the portfolio section. You can find some of the art I've done, as well as citations of all the papers that this art is based on, because I try to do as accurate as possible I can with my artwork while still kind of maintaining some sense of artistic stylization.
Oh yeah, I do that too. On occasion, although I have also lapsed a little bit on posting new work to our actual
Yes.
site. So
Scott is known
Yeah.
for his what he calls the Tiki Cosmonaut series, which involves taking sketches of skeletons that he's done, some from life, meaning from museum mounts and displays that we've both
yeah,
visited. No,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. No, that's accurate. That's accurate.
okay.
I try to use something to inform what I'm doing, so that the mounts themselves are as accurate as possible. So I do take some liberties with how it's represented in a mount versus what it might have looked like in life, and favoring for what it might have looked like in life
And
whenever possible.
and then you decorate it with awesome glowing lights and make it look all Tron-y and stuff, and I love it.
It's one way of putting it, I suppose. Yes, although at the time it was just like Christmas lights, and then later on there's this article which keeps surfacing in my feeds and whatnot about how chameleon skeletons will glow under a UV light, even through their
Yes.
skins. So that's vindication right there. So
So we've
That
already had
actually
Gallimaufric.
just remind me another thing that I forgot to mention, which is yes, I do draw things. So
Oh,
we are
right,
on
yes,
a
Tom is an
podcast
artist as
full
well.
of people who draw things or have drawn things. And I think Zach, you should just keep drawing. Like I think we should do things that even if we're not good at. I can think of plenty of things I'm not good at that you still enjoy doing. So
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
right now I'm kind of on a attempting to learn how to do pinup art phase.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Well, you gotta
that's
start
that's
somewhere.
awesome.
Yeah.
I think that doing like something new kind of like helps build neural pathways, and will help, I think, inform some more of your art a little better. I think really I should
Absolutely.
probably try to get in on doing some kind of human work as well, because I've been kind of slacking off and just I do nothing
Same
but
thing.
dinosaurs, really.
Oh yeah.
Let me
Oh,
tell you
I
what
have-
kind of organisms are hard to draw. Humans.
Yes.
When
Oh,
you've been
yeah.
drawing
Everybody knows what a human looks
dinosaurs,
like. Yeah.
dinosaurs, and even other mammals for your whole life, humans are very, very abnormal.
Yeah, we are kind of like humans are a tricky breed. Yeah, I have kind of half jokingly but half seriously said that my art has gotten better ever since I started drawing monster girls. So
It really
yeah,
has.
that's true.
Hey,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
your parasite monster girls are just chef's kiss, man. Perfect. Perfection.
yeah, those
And
are
that
good.
seems to be the thing that whenever people interview me, or like at least the last 3 interviews that I've had for various outlets and various reasons, they seem to keep bringing up like the Parasite Monster Girls. So they'll start interviewing me about something else, and then they go, "Oh, by the way, this is the thing that we actually want to talk about. You draw these things called like Parasite Monster Girl. What's the deal?"
Right.
Whatever helps generate interest too in what we're doing or what we're about. Yeah.
So I do with my art mostly dinosaurs in digital painting format and apparel. I sell a lot of my stuff as shirts. And I also do on occasion the what I call the costumed kaiju. So I've done a few of those where I take well-known kaiju and mash them up with other things. You can see them on my Nito shop, which will have a link. And
Yeah.
you can also see them. Some of them are up on Cubelight Graphics, the CGFXUS site. And I have a few that I need to update, of course, because I've been lazy lately. Haven't done that.
You used to have them on like Redbubble, but then Redbubble with their copyright thingy,
Yes.
Redbubble didn't like that.
No, they don't tend to like that. Apparently, Toho has their mitts into it. Certain monster movie producing companies like to troll through those sites. And
And so do the publishers of Fortnite, we noticed, because they laid claim to your picks or it didn't happen,
yes,
design.
What?
for those of you who are unaware,
yeah.
yes. For those of you
Oh,
who are
yeah.
unaware, a couple of years ago, I designed a shirt inspired by Dr. Thomas Holtz, who is a Tyrannosaurus researcher, where he gave me the idea of a shirt that says "Picks" or "It Didn't Happen," with "picks" being spelled as in a rock pick or a
Oh,
pickaxe.
right.
So I put pickaxe as one of my search terms. What do you call those tags? One of my tags for the shirt, thinking nothing of it because, well, pickaxe is a geology tool, and Epic Games decided that they didn't like that. That they owned the rights to Pickaxe and came without even looking at the context or anything else about even the design itself. They didn't even look at the design and issued an automatic takedown. And I had to have some people kind of flood some of their forums and stuff, because I'm not going to make an Epic Games account just to harass them on their own website. That's stupid.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they have owned the pickaxe idea since the 1500s. So,
Sure. I'm pretty sure that there, some caveman went, Epic Games copyright. Grug copyright Epic Games.
Well, it's funny. It's funny how zealously that Redbubble go after this. Yet, if I go on Redbubble, I'll find T-shirts that have like anime art that's just been cropped from screenshot. Just
Right.
Oh my God.
And then they don't
Godzilla
take it
everywhere, and they go after me.
down. It would just be like a screenshot from, I don't know, Bakemonogatari and stick it on a white T-shirt, and then they start selling it. It's like, hey,
Look at
what
me.
the
I
hell?
did something that's all original. See? I originally cropped it. That's my crop. Right?
Like the people selling it, I don't think they even claim to originality. It's just how lazy Redbubble, like how hypocritical.
Hypocritical?
Yeah, it is. With like, oh yeah, you did this new thing that's a remix of like kaiju and I know Nintendo thing, and then they come along and go, no, that's copyright violation. But if you take a screenshot from a popular anime and then you stick it on the T-shirt, they sometimes people do that thing that they do on YouTube when they upload something they're not supposed to, and they say like, oh, I don't own anything. Well, why are you
Right.
uploading?
Yeah, why
That's not a disclaimer. So yeah, copyright laws are weird and strange.
That's like saying I'm defending myself as you just walk up to some random person and punch them in the face. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've had a couple tangles with some copyright issues in the past, which I will probably address on the show as well in future episodes, about how to not get in trouble, why you should research copyright laws in your country and try to
Right.
claim copyright on your own art if possible, and how to do that without spending an arm and a leg.
Yep.
At least not your arm and a leg.
Yes. So I guess we're going to cover a lot of ground in this podcast, which is why we call it Gallimaufric Science, because a Gallimaufric means a multitude of something, a plethora,
A medley.
a medley,
you
a
will.
melting pot of a lot of stuff.
Just basically what we happen to be into that particular week when we decide to record the podcast.
And science.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, science.
Oh yeah.
Yes. That might bleed
science.
in.
That's part of it, isn't it?
Yes.
All on a podcast. There you go.
Yep.
So if you like listening to our babblings, we would appreciate a donation to either four of our Ko-Fi accounts or Cash App, whatever you kids use nowadays.
Do we have Ko-Fi accounts? I have a Ko-Fi account.
What does that mean? What's Ko-Fi?
Oh, it's
Okay, so-
maybe it's pronounced coffee. It's KO-FI. It's like a little miniature payment app where you can send like a few bucks at a time to somebody.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
Not a plug.
yes. Right,
No,
coffee.
not a plug for coffee. This is just me explaining. We might.
Although if someone wants to buy me coffee, that would be okay too.
Totally
Yeah,
fine.
sure.
Yeah. Just like drop it off
What?
on my doorstep and knock really loud so you activate the dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. The doorbell doesn't work. We can't afford to fix that, so the dogs.
Yes, so give us some Kofi. A drop of sunshine would be great.
There you go.
And of course, Raven and Scott, you both have Patreons. So
Oh, yes.
Yes, I should probably
Like
update
Patreon.
that. That's been a while.
Yes, oft neglected Patreons. I do think that this would be a great opportunity for us to get a little bit more on step with that too.
Yeah, maybe treat it like a blog as well, where we just throw some
Hey,
more
there we
artwork
go.
in there. I know I've got a fair
Also-
bit in there, but I could always use
also-
more.
Just a thought here, we could offer it as a way, like you donate at a certain level, maybe we can give you access to some of the raw files before they're posted. You can hear us raw and unfiltered and unedited.
Raw, unfiltered, me just like my stomach rumbling, or occasionally like or my scroll wheel of doom on my mouse, my
Oh,
really old mouse, which
I
had
let
that
out a
horrifying
huge beer belch.
Yeah, that's worthwhile to offer to people. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
you can listen to this.
Right? And
That's pretty cool, to be fair.
That is, that's very clicky. We might leave that in. But no, I think this would be a good opportunity to really use flex Patreon's muscle and use it for what it's intended, and maybe give people an opportunity to listen to the show while it's being, broadcast with like a password, or I don't know. We'll figure something out for sure.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. And we'll have links, of course, in the show notes as it goes along. Man, we're gonna have a lot of links.
That's what show notes are for.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
depends basically what we talk about, so it could be a lot of things.
Okay.
So maybe one of us should be like transcribing notes during the session too. So
Oh crap.
no, that's okay. I'll start doing it.
We've come into this century, and there is actually services which will take your audio file and transcribe them for you.
Really?
Oh, I like that better
like-
than just shorthand.
Will they do it well?
Well, you do want to go back over and look at it just to make sure there's no weird, like, what Tommy has called digital goblins. Is that right? Do I misremember that?
Maybe I don't remember everything that comes out of my mouth. So
Well, but you coined a great term for.
shoggoths.
Shoggoths. That's it. Yeah.
digital
Sorry.
shoggoths. Yeah.
Why did I think goblins? I don't know. But part way to what it is. There's a G in there.
Yeah.
Shoggoths has no B or S.
It's got a G and an O.
It's a G and O. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a failure, no matter which way you slice it. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, digital shoggoths. You want to make sure that your transcription looks good. Doesn't have like something in there that you did not mean.
Yeah.
Or if it's hilarious, leave it in. That could be an extra we offer on the Patreon.
There you go.
Right. Happy
There's the
accident.
alternate reality version. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the happy accident level. I'm pretty sure we'll have some merch coming out soon too.
Yeah, I remember one of you was working on a Gallimaufric like logo thingy.
That was
ages ago.
me, and I'm
Yeah.
still working on it because my art director hasn't gotten back to me about certain key questions.
Yep, I'm. That's me. I dropped the ball. I'm the art director.
Well, that's okay. You're the director, though. It's on your desk anytime. No pressure.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my desk is just covered in stuff.
Well, that shows how busy you are, really, doesn't it?
Right. It really does.
That is true.
My desk is just a disaster. It doesn't count.
I guess we can have like the podcast every week by asking what everyone's been watching or reading or
Excellent
whatever
suggestion.
else that they come across.
Hey, would you like to start that?
For me,
Well, yeah, it was your suggestion.
I was the person that suggested. Why wouldn't I think? Okay,
Oh,
all right.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So I guess I've read a couple of scientific papers. I do a few every week whenever I can. But it depends on whether you want me to talk about petrols eating sperm whales, or whether you want me to talk about things that eat viruses in the sea.
Oh, yes and yes. That's cool. Both
Okay,
of them.
I'll talk about the petrol one because they are dinosaurs technically. So that relates more to like what everyone else was. I'll save the virus one for another time. So I was reading a paper in Polar Biology about northern petrols that have been eating live sperm whales. So yeah, giant petrol preying on depredating sperm whales. So this was recently published in Polar Biology. And basically, they were opportunistically looking for sperm whales that have surfaced and basically just picking on their backs. And the scientists who did the study suggest that this is probably a pre-existing behavior in the petrols. However, this is occurring on a more common basis because of longline fishing. Because the sperm whales are smart enough to figure out, like, okay, those big noisy things on the surface, they drag around with them a whole lot of like tasty treats. If we follow them, we can pick them off. And Petrol knows this too. And the Petrol go, oh, these big chunks of meat that are floating in the sea as well. So longline fishing is actually kind of bringing these animals together more often than they usually would, because the Petrols would normally only encounter the sperm whales when they surface. But now with the longline fishing, longline vessels kind of dragging all these fish behind them, they're attracting both the petrols and the sperm whales. And the petrol is like, well, while I'm here, as well take a bit of a sperm whale.
Hey, it's free real estate.
As well. It's more like free buffet.
There you go.
Yeah.
Smart birds.
Blubber buffet.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting in that this is kind of another example of how human activities are altering not really altering animal behavior, but augmenting it in a way that could change ecosystems, because these sperm whales are now getting attacked more often by petrols, and at the same time they're also getting some kind of food subsidies from the longline fishing as well. And there was like recent news stories that came out about orcas attacking yachts and stuff like that.
Oh yes.
What? I'm sorry.
Like
What?
a news story. Yeah. They're like apparently ganging up to attack like shipping and stuff like that. And it's really quite funny reading the news story because they were like, these orcas are going crazy and attacking yachts. And then they talk about how like the population have been depleted, like fishing vessels are taking away the food, and it's generating a lot of noise that disrupt their lives. And they go, I wonder why these orcas are attacking these boats.
Right.
It's a mystery.
Wow.
They've gone crazy. So yeah, they're like apparently ganging up and attacking like surface going vessels. I guess the orcas are kind of sick about shit.
I'd heard about them just going after fishing boats, especially around here in Alaska.
Oh yeah, they do. They do that.
In much of the way that the sperm whales kind of follow the fishing boats, but these orca are a lot more active and a lot more aggressive than,
and they're a lot more social as well.
Yeah, so they have like 3 or 4 whale just like hanging out, hemming in this fishing boat and keeping it from going anywhere except for into the mouths of some of these other whales hanging out.
Yeah, people kind of tend to forget because they go like, oh, orcas are cute. It's like they are large predators. They're like about the size of a T-Rex.
Yeah, they're huge.
In the sea.
And they have a lot of teeth
smart,
too.
And they're smart. They're extremely, extremely smart animals as well. Both culture and social systems and everything like that. So, yeah.
Yes.
People
and their form of play is, how high can I launch this seal out of the water with just my
I was about to say that, yeah.
Whee!
Yeah, I'm
not for the seal.
Yeah. I'm always kind of surprised that orcas don't attack humans more often, but maybe they're just smart enough to know, like,
wait.
Maybe they're just smart enough to know, like, maybe we shouldn't mess with them. But once we've kind of pushed them to the edge, and then like we can't take this shit no more.
You came to the wrong neighborhood applies, yes.
And It's kind of weird that the article going like, oh, these orcas are like going crazy attacking like these boats. It's like you're driving, like it's like if someone just drive a Humvee into your backyard all the time. It's like, hang on, what the hell? You know, on your property, just like randomly intruding in on like a Humvee or something. So
Taking your
you're prob-
pizza the instant it's delivered, you know.
Yeah, that's right. You probably want to do something about that. So
Oh yeah.
Ideally.
Orca cop.
Ambushing you for your groceries outside the store. Yeah.
yeah, so I find it like more weird that people are going, oh, what could be responsible for this crazy behavior?
Crazy.
Gee. Let's make a list. Yeah.
Yeah, so list of grievances from killer whales, and but yeah, this paper about petrols. This is not the first time where there have been documented case of petrols and other seabirds that kind of pick at whales. Like there was an earlier paper published quite a few years ago about, I think it was also petrols going after white whales, especially white whale calves, because they're more vulnerable and they need the surface more often. So it's interesting that this kind of behavior is occurring more often. And for the technical minded, this kind of interaction is what's known as micro predation, where instead of like having a predator that eats a prey and eats the whole thing, you have like little animals taking little chunks out of a bigger prey.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
cookie cutter sharks
That aren't
like
that aren't necessarily not necessarily going to cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, not in one attack, but if they do it often, then it's kind of like, I guess, leeches and mosquitoes. They technically also engage in micro predation, or ticks. Even though I guess you could say, well, ticks an ectoparasite, but those are just all categories that we've made up. Nature a tick does what it does, and it doesn't care whether you call it micro predator or a parasite. It's just like, I suck blood and get big and grow.
I like to think there's a tick that is like, now hold on a second. Don't just lump me in with those other ones.
That ticks me off.
With the cookie cutter sharks. Don't lump me in with those guys. I'm different. Stick on to the host for a while. I don't just fight and leave.
Tips fedora and flies away.
Perfect.
There you go.
Okay.
A flying tick would be terrifying, actually.
Oh, well, I mean, in a way, kind of mosquitoes.
I was just
That's
thinking
true.
about that.
What is a flying thing that like sucks your blood? Oh wait,
our state bird is one of those. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They get bigger as you go north.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've been reading other things too, but maybe I'll save it for like another episode.
Okay. All right. How about you, Zach?
So the thing that has captured my attention lately, I guess I'll preface it by saying that I'm going through a phase, I guess you could say, where I'm very interested in the immediate ancestors of dinosaurs. Because dinosaurs are a group of a large group with a single common ancestor that arose back in the middle Triassic period, but there are a bunch of animals that are, nothing comes from nowhere. So there are a bunch of animals that branched off before dinosaurs, in between pterosaurs and dinosaurs. And the group that's most fascinating to me is these animals called Salsaurids. At least I think that's how you pronounce it, because saying it the other way would be stupid.
Okay.
Sillysaurids, that just doesn't sound right to me. But Salsaurids are these, they're generally small, quadrupedal, largely herbivorous animals. They're about the size of a dog. And they have, when they were first discovered, the first Salsaurid ever found was Salsaurus, described in 2003. And when it was found, the describers noted that it has it seems to have a predentary bone, and predentary bones are characteristic of ornithischian dinosaurs. It's common to all ornithischian dinosaurs. So if Silosaurus has a predentary bone, the thinking was, well, maybe it's a very early ornithischian. But it does not have many of the features we associate with dinosaurs. So many more Silosaurids have been described since, and the thinking has now been that Silosaurids are they branched off right before Dinosauria, and they independently got this predentary bone, which is remarkable when you think about it. But later we found out that it's not really a predentary bone. It's just the anterior tip of their dentary is toothless and pointy, but it's not a separate. It's not a separate bone. And so Silosaurids now are just kind of these weird offshoot before dinosaurs came around. But the pendulum has swung back just recently, where they don't have a predentary bone, but this newest paper by, hold on, I can find this paper. There it is. Okay. This newest paper published this year, just a couple weeks ago, by Rodrigo Temp Mueller and Mauricio Silva Garcia, suggests that, or they hypothesize, that Silosaurids are ornithischian dinosaurs. They're the earliest ornithischian dinosaurs. And you can show, they've attempted to show that through the evolution of Silosaurids, they become more ornithischian-like in their dentition, and then the toothless tip of their dentaries do eventually ossify into a separate bone. I found that fascinating for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is we would finally have Triassic ornithischians. There's been a huge reduction in the number of Triassic ornithischian dinosaurs over the years. Once it was discovered that there are crocodilians, herbivorous crocodilians, that have the same tooth shape as ornithischians, and the Triassic ornithischian, Paisanosaurus, from, I want to say Brazil, either Brazil or Argentina. Argentina. It was reassessed in 2017 as a Silosaurid. So that would mean that there are no Triassic ornithischians anymore. And now we don't know where ornithischians came from. There was a paper a couple of years ago saying that maybe ornithischians are theropods, or share a common ancestor with theropods, instead of being their own group. So that's been a problem for a few years. But if you say that Silosaurids taken together are ornithischians, that solves a lot of problems. I know that's a lot of word salad, but I'm very excited about it. And it will, of course, take other people looking at this and doing new phylogenies and coming up with something. But I think that's a fascinating idea, and it solves a lot of problems, but it does create a new one. The earliest Silosaurids are from the Ancien of the Middle Triassic, whereas the next earliest non-ornithischian dinosaur doesn't show up until the Carnian of the late Triassic. So there's still a ghost lineage, but it's no longer between ornithischians. Now it's between ornithischians and everybody else. So there you go. If there are questions, I'll take them, but I know that was a lot. That was a lot all at once.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Good talk.
Yeah,
good
talk.
Yeah. It's better with a PowerPoint, but
hey, that's okay. You can make one up in your mind. I know I did.
That's true. And I wrote about Silosaurids a couple of years ago on my blog, Waxing Paleontological, and I desperately need to update that post. Yeah, perhaps I will. Perhaps this will spur me to do just that.
You should also refresh it and bring it to the forefront of your blog too. So, pardon me, other people can read it.
I agree. That would be a great idea.
Yes.
Remember when I wrote all this? Well, guess what's changed?
A lot.
Yeah. I guess you could just link back to the
Oh, that's true too.
editing.
Yeah.
So, as far as me, I've just been kind of watching a lot of popular media. My mom and I have been watching television together. That's one of our favorite pastimes. You don't need to know any of that, though, I guess. But haven't really read anything new. I've been kind of stuck on a 2018 paper, an unusual association of Hadrosaur and Thera Dinosaur tracks within late Cretaceous rocks of Denali National Park, Alaska. This is by Anthony R.
That's a good one.
Fiorillo of the Perot Museum, Paul J. McCarthy et al. So it's basically about it shows that hadrosaurs and therizinosaurs, at least this far north, would often herd together, like many animals on the African savanna do today. And this is apparently a kind of a unique assemblage of tracks here. First, therizinosaur track was discovered a while back, and it was just a single track. And now that they found many others in 2018 in kind of a hard to reach area, a lot of things are described in this paper, including paleobotany of the surrounding environs, because they found some well preserved, kind of a plethora of flowering plants in the area, including Nymphaceae. Is that how you pronounce it? They are basically some kind of water lily.
Okay.
Which I have actually used this paper, I believe, as a part of my basis for flower dance. And I don't think I actually included this in the citations there, but yeah,
you can update it. Yeah,
Metaspermites, which is like a kind of like a grape-shaped plant, if I recall correctly, and I can't pronounce this. I'm not going to even try it. So it's just with a T, but it's I'll include the paper in the show notes so you guys can click on it and try to muddle through it as well. But Metasequoia. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at it right now. It is open access, which is unusual for papers like this, but everybody can read it, which is very cool.
Yeah, everybody. You don't need it's a Nature article. So Fiorillo did this as like a review paper, I think, as well, of what the area was like. So it looks like we've got a mixture of plants that don't exist up here anymore, tropical varieties. So it was very, very warm and wet up here. The area that this was found in, included a low-lying floodplain with shallow lakes and backwater ponds and marshes and channels and whatnot. So many areas that look like that today, but have a whole different variety of plants on them now. So it would have been amazing to see a forest up here 75 million years ago. If not a little terrifying.
Yeah.
I think these might be some of the... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Crosstalk. This is what happens when you have 4 co-hosts. I believe these might be some of the only good therizinosaur tracks known, certainly of this quality. And if people don't know what therizinosaurs are, they're these gigantic, fat theropods with long necks and big scythe-like claws, and they're herbivorous. And they're so heavy that the first toe, the hallux, has actually re-evolved into a weight-bearing digit.
Yes, because a lot of theropods, including birds, don't have that toe. Except now, birds re-evolved it themselves and turned it backwards to form the little thumb claw, if you will, that they use to perch with.
I guess for people who are looking for a mammalian analogy, it will be something like a panda that evolved from carnivorous ancestors and have evolved to be herbivorous. except that whereas panda is just like one lone living lineage, with the Thera Dinosaur, they kind of adaptively radiated into all these different species.
They are very strange animals. Very strange even for theropods, which can often be strange on their own terms.
And
Yeah.
theropods includes everything from chickens and robins and other little cheap birds to ostriches, all the way up to the big boy Tyrannosaurus Rex and anything in between, including Velociraptor.
Yeah,
So-
so I guess for most people who don't know much about dinosaurs, they are the kind of bipedal carnivorous dinosaurs like Velociraptor, Tyrannosaurus. Those guys are theropod dinosaurs, and of course, all the living birds as well.
Yeah.
True.
So yes, they are kind of just another example of how odd theropod dinosaurs kind of the forms that they took throughout history. Their hip bones are actually very much akin to giant ground sloths. So it's probably
True.
a thing that they did. They just sat on their butts all day and used their big long claws to reach branches and pluck it off with their little heads on the ends of very long necks. Must have been a sight to see.
I feel like
kidding, yeah.
that actually reminds me. I feel like we should talk about sloth one of these days because,
yeah.
like most people see sloth as like these slow things that hang out in trees, but there's a lot of there were a lot of extinct sloth that have evolved into all these different forms, and that seems to be a typical thing with a lot of these lineages that living
Right.
representatives are kind of one form, and people associate like, oh, sloth. It's just these like slow things that hangs out on a tree, and indeed the term sloth is for lazy and stuff. But
Whereas these guys died young because they lived too
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
yeah, so many of these like things that have living representatives, they have extinct relatives that are like more diverse than most people would imagine. Things like sloths or tuatara, which you only have 2 living species today, but you had all these like different types of wrinkle-cephalian reptiles that live in different ecological niches and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe we should like revisit this whole.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that
Sloth
idea.
and
I'd be
tuatara
down
and
with
stuff
that.
like that.
Even the
For sure.
2 sloths alive today, Bradypus and Colopus, are not each other's closest relatives.
Mhm.
That's incredible too.
Yeah. Sloths are cool.
They're
Sloths
also
are
one of the.
wild. There were
They
even
are.
aquatic
They're all-
sloths.
We could
Yeah.
do a whole suite of episodes dedicated just to sloths.
Yeah.
Truly. But
Also fun to say, sloth.
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 Yeah, sloth.
Sloth.
So I am
Sloth,
working on
yeah.
a giant lizard sloth drawing thing, and have been working alongside some other paleo artists, including Yashua Noop. And he has been kind enough to talk to somebody for me, a friend of his that is a biomechanist, bio
Ooh.
expert. So he was able to get back to me. And unfortunately, if I base my Alaska Thera Dinosaur on Northronicus, it's probably impossible to depict or to draw them in this way that I have, which is kind of lying down with its hands in front. So I might have to look at.
I've been meaning
Oh.
to ask this. Is there any other candidate Therizinosaur that you could use in that position?
I think there could be because like I was reminding during our we were having a I don't know.
Now by that
Probably
pose, do you
I'm
mean
not-
the palm is resting flat on the ground?
No. What
Okay.
I mean by that is it is if I base my Therizinosaur on Northronicus, its anatomy does not allow for it to lay completely down, like with its stomach on the ground,
Oh, I see.
like
Yeah.
on a. So their anatomy pretty much shows that they just sit, but I'm kind of looking at other ways to get them to lay down, like on their side, like chickens do. Chickens have kind of wide hips as well, and
Yeah.
they accommodate very well to laying on their sides.
Flop over.
Flop over. But the way that the flange on Northronicus and its kin it has kind of evolved there. It's got this big, deep flange to it. Like it's hard to say even where the muscles attach on this hip. And I think Zach, you actually did a lengthy post about this years back on your defunct When Pigs Fly blog, because that's
Oh,
one of the
really?
links he found was actually to your blog.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I
Oh
am
my
not
God.
kidding you. Yeah. So like you went into a great amount of detail. Actually, I have it bookmarked. I'm going to be referring back to it. But yeah, the muscles are just weird because you have this huge deep pocket on the front, and it basically makes it impossible for a Thera Dinosaur to sit with its knees bent in the way that I have it drawn out right now. So I have to either get clever about that, or I have to maybe base it on some other kind of Thera Dinosaur, because Alaska was a superhighway between Asia and the rest of the United States and Canada, because of what we call the Bering Land Bridge, which has appeared in Beringia, yes, which has appeared and disappeared beneath the waves of the Arctic Ocean and the Bering Strait for many, 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 many years, and in many, many incarnations. And in the 170 million years ago, it opened up a new wave of traffic, and we were inundated with all kinds of dinosaur species that you would normally associate with more southern climates or closer to more Asian species. So it's kind of I wouldn't call it a mosaic, a gradient. Yeah, I would call it a gradient between Asia and then the southern United States. So we have kind of a melange going on here.
A medley, perhaps?
A medley, a Gallimaufric.
Gallimaufric?
Oh,
Yes,
look at that.
Let's all
And
we
some
tied it
of-
all together. We can end the podcast right now.
Some of our dinosaurs even went over there. They have a ceratopsid in China now, and Thera dinosaurs probably originated here in North America.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Interesting,
Falcarius, and Nothornicus, both in Utah. They're the most primitive known, I believe. Wait, no, that
So
might
I'll
not
have to
be
look at
true
some of
anymore.
the-
You know what? That might not be true.
Yeah, Falcarius is way older than Nothornicus. Nothornicus is late Cretaceous. Falcarius is early Cretaceous, like 100 years ago. And Nothornicus is more like 70, 65 million years ago, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I do not have the reference in front of me, but you're probably right. I know there's a big gap between them.
Okay. Folks, if you think I'm wrong, I can't stop you from telling me. It's the internet.
Well, you know how to reach us, and maybe we'll put a link right in there in the show notes for that. Yeah. I think I'm the only one who hasn't been reading anything that's directly science related, but it kind of fits in with the melange a little bit. I've been reading mostly about. Well, that's not strictly true, is it? I've been reading a little bit about Dunkolostias for some reason.
Ooh.
I wonder why.
Why not read about Dunkolostia?
Why not? That's a great question. Why
Yeah.
not read about
By the way, you have
Does it-
something else that relates to Dunkolostia, don't you?
Yes.
Oh, I
yes,
do.
You do.
Yes, I do. That's right, I do. We have a robotic cutter in the studio, and we can use it to cut paper and vinyl and all this sort of stuff. And I finally did a good, solid experiment yesterday, and I got a positive and negative effect out of the cutting for a design I did for Dunkolostia, a design I did for a mask for these COVID-19 days. And the effects look really good. So I want to try to remember to post pictures to go along with other show notes of this, because it came out so nicely. I'm going to chop it down, put it in a frame, and see if anybody's willing to bite, as it were. But it just thrills me just looking at cut paper. I've always loved cut paper as a medium.
This thing does a good job. You should also put a link to your Threadless account with your masks, both the blue and red.
Right. Yeah, I
Yes.
could do that. Somebody remind me. Yeah.
Yes, Scott has done 2 different colors, blue and red. So
I'm working on green. Green is the
Yes.
next one, because then we'll have the primary spectra. Well, red, green, and blue, obviously. There's nothing more to it than that. But it's got to look right, and it's really hard to do for threadless and make sure things look good. So that's one of the things I've been reading. Intermittently, I would say I get in and out of looking at Desmostylians, because that's going to be the next Tiki Cosmonaut sort of painting I tackle.
Oh God,
I've
I'm
got
so
some
sorry.
reference. Oh, well, yeah, they're a little strange. They're a little strange. But I've got some good reference.
Remember
And-
coming across a +1 paper that was basically like, these guys are
Yeah.
really weird. Here are some reconstructions of them that some of them look like elephant. Some reconstruction make them look like elephant seals, and other ones make them look like hippos. We don't know what
Yep.
the hell. You know?
Yeah,
We have one
fortunately,
here in
that's not
Alaska.
My problem. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's fortunately not my problem for this particular painting, because I'm only doing the bones. But spatial awareness and doing all this sort of stuff properly with things as complicated as skeletons has always vexed me mightily. And in fact, one of my Tiki Cosmonaut paintings, the Elasmosaur one, took me literally 10 years, very nearly 10 years.
Yeah, I
to
remember
finish.
those like sessions of you working on that. That was quite interesting.
Yes, I
You
would
struggle with
swear,
all the
I'd
poses.
struggle and sweat, and it still didn't look any damned good.
And then I'm like, hey, why don't you turn the canvas 90 degrees?
And that was a goddamn it moment, where you just sort of, the art director has the best ideas, really. So
That's why I'm in the cushy chair,
is that what that is? Oh yeah, she is in the cushy chair, because I'm in the library.
complete with pink, my little pony blanket. And if you think I'm kidding, I'll take a photo of it and post it online. I'm not.
Oh, I
even
believe
kidding.
you.
Yeah,
I believe
awesome.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
speaking of
making
photos
me not get
online,
up, because it's so nice and soft.
Speaking of photos online, if you want to look at how Scott's mask look like, I believe I tweeted a photo of it maybe
yeah.
a few months ago. So yeah, if you want to have a look, you could see it, and they look really badass.
Really?
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
He
the
looks
masks turned out really well,
fire.
and people
Yeah,
seem
they
to like
did.
it. And I gotta say, proceeds from the masks have paid for the microphone I'm using right now. So
Wow.
thank you guys so much
So
out there.
this
for paying.
podcast has been made possible by your Dunkolostia mask.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm one of the big sponsors after all. Yeah.
I would also like to take this moment to thank wholeheartedly Anthony Ruelas for his contribution in getting me my own microphone for my birthday. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Anthony is awesome. So let's
Yes.
see.
He is. He sent me his old phone, if this is the Anthony I'm thinking of.
Different Anthony.
Okay, never mind.
Yep, that was. I just call him Tony because, well, that's his name, Tony. But I was talking to him yesterday actually, just to get caught up and stuff like that. He was telling me about the Venus thing, the
phosphine.
the phosphines in Venus. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
Let's touch on that real fast, because
Yeah,
that
we could do
is
that, yeah.
fascinating stuff.
Now, I haven't read this myself, so
Neither have
you
I.
guys are going to have to. Oh, really? You guys are
Neither
going
have
to have to.
As far as I could tell, it's kind of like, okay, phosphine is usually associated with decaying organic matter and stuff like that. It can also be brought about through chemical reactions. So at the moment, I guess the thing to determine is the thing that was responsible for the phosphine, is it actually life as we know it? Or is it some other weird chemical reaction that the chemists like chemistry that we are currently unaware of under the really unusual condition that Venus has? So it could be life, or it could be something else. I don't think we are in a position to really say definitively, or even anywhere close to definitively saying, like, is it maybe life, or is it maybe weird chemistry, or even whether maybe the weird chemistry is life. So don't really know.
We have.
I don't have expertise to say so.
One thing I've wondered is, because the Soviets sent probes to the Venera missions to Venus in the 70s, and I was wondering if it's possible that during deployment that they could have contaminated Venus, with
Oh,
something
yeah.
that's,
I mean,
from
it
Earth.
depends on, yeah, Venus is like extremely hostile. Like they
Yeah,
have
it
to
is.
build like a spaceship that can survive for maybe a few hours or few minutes on
Yeah.
Venus. It's like
And
an
that's challenging
extremely
enough.
hostile environment. And I
Yeah.
think I remember like hearing one of the people who were like there was an interview with one of the people involved, and they say that they had this issue where they sent one of the probes and the lens cap ended up melting onto the camera. So when they tried to turn the camera on, it was just this brown stuff.
Oh,
And
wow.
according to the anecdote, were like, one of the mission control people was like, oh, piece would landed in some kind of like brown muck. And then the other guy was like, yeah, we've landed in deep shit. That's what we. So that was the anecdote anyway. I have no vouch for whether this is actually what happened, but like, yeah, apparently the lens cap melted onto the camera according to that story, and that's
Huh,
why the only
interesting.
photo that we have of Venus is that crappy little photo at that weird angle because I had to get like,
Yeah.
even it was know very little about Venus because it's a difficult planet. If
Yeah,
Venus was
that's a good
person,
word. Good way of
that's
putting it.
they're kind of difficult.
Yeah, those Venetians. But how wild would it be of all the planets in the interstellar system that's the one that turns out to have
That would be funny.
alien life on it? Yeah, it would be funny and hilarious and also kind of creepy at the same time because
So
yeah,
in science fiction, before we knew Venus was this hell world, that was always the place that seemed likely to harbor life.
oh yeah,
So maybe it kind of like come around. The other place that in our solar system, the other two places I know of that are like good candidates for potential life are Titan and Europa. And if there are life on Europa, that would probably be the place that would be the closest to the kind of life we have on Earth, because the hypothetical habitat that Europa would provide would be analogous to the kind of deep sea vents, that the hydrothermal deep sea vents that we have and the kind of ecosystem there. So at least that's something like or somewhat comparable to something that we have on Earth. But with the kind of conditions we have on Venus, it's not really, there is nothing on Earth that really compares to it. And also with Titan as well, which if they do have life, it would work on a very different chemistry to us. Simply
Yeah.
because it's like, well, there is like a
Yeah.
energy going on, but it's really cold as well. So the kind of like cryo form life, it wouldn't be, basically if we were to encounter alien, biologically they would be very different to whatever it is that we are. If we
Isn't there
understand it on a fundamental level.
isn't there a moon that's like the whole surface is covered in ice? That's been, oh geez, with
That would be
cracks in it all
Europa.
over the place. Hasn't that
Yeah,
been
Europa.
suggested as a?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Europa.
Yeah,
Okay.
Europa is that
Europa.
kind of like really, it's got a very relatively smooth surface. The whole surface is ice. Underneath that is like a big ocean, and then inside the core, it's been
Oh,
postulated
yeah.
that there would be like
I'm looking at it
volcanoes
right
and
now.
stuff going on. Yeah, because of like
yeah.
the tidal action, the tidal force of its host planet, the Jupiter. So
Yeah.
there's a few other there's a few other moons that are candidates for that, like ice moons that might have under surface oceans that are relatively warm enough for hydrothermal conditions and stuff like that. So those are potential candidates for life that are maybe somewhat comparable to what we have on Earth. If there are life on those other bodies like Titan and Venus, if there are life, they would be really unusual and different to anything that we have on Earth.
Yeah, fascinating stuff there.
Having grown up on a lot of science fiction from all the eras, really. I've always been sort of obsessed with 2001 and 2010, the novelizations, and of course the films, but mostly the novelizations for 2010 because that was just like European life actually makes an appearance I believe it was to one of the Chinese missions to Europa.
I think it was 2010.
2010, yeah, that was in 2010, yeah. But ever since reading that, it was like, oh, this is so cool. I mean, it would be amazing to find out about extraterrestrial life being in our own solar system within my lifetime, if possible.
Yeah. Now there are sirens on Titan.
There are what now?
There are what now?
Sirens. Sirens of Titan. Nobody? Oh, come on.
What the heck?
Oh, sorry,
Ah.
crickets.
The Kurt Vonnegut
probably
book,
making
y'all.
some kind of reference.
Oh.
Do I need to read more?
We all need to read more. That's everybody. Let's just read more. That's
That
what
is
I
the
don't-
moral of this.
I don't read
podcast, is-
fiction, but that's a good fiction book. I figured everyone here has read that.
I have not. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I have
Somebody
not.
somebody out there in listener land was like, I get that.
There was a Stephen Baxter novel that did feature Titanian.
Oh my
Titan
God.
life. So
Right.
that was the novel. That was a Titan, actually.
Yeah. So
Oh.
Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. I have to confess, the only Kurt Vonnegut novel I have read has been Mother Night.
I've not heard of that one.
Oh my God, it's pretty intense. But yeah, it's not science fiction per se, but man, I'll have to read that, just because now I know of its existence.
Did he do Ice 9?
Ice Nine, I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay.
Maybe so. Hang on, let me just.
I have also read Slaughterhouse 5, so that really doesn't count. So
Yeah, it is
between
Kurt
those two,
Vonnegut.
yeah. Wait, was there one more that I've read? I can't remember now. It's been a long time.
It's from his novel Cat's Cradle.
Cat's Cradle, that's what I mean. Great
Okay.
book.
I've only read part of that. I never got around to reading the whole thing, though. So, yeah, Mother Night is worth checking out for sure. And I won't say it's prescient per se, but it is about a broadcaster from Nazi Germany who is caught up by war crimes tribunal, and this is basically his story. But in reality, he was actually broadcasting for the Allies by way of code, using coughs, pauses, and grunts and all that sort of stuff during his delivery of the broadcasting he was doing. So he was doing a lot of propaganda for Nazi Germany, but at the same time, he was delivering code to the Allies. It's definitely a great great book, but that's one of the few of his I read. I've read more of his short stories than I have his long form fiction. But so at some point we do probably need to think about rolling up the episode and calling it good. And I'll go ahead and tell Craig to stop recording. Is there any final thoughts that anybody else has before we?
Not really, unless we want to make it just a thought about the podcast in general. Not so much partisan for airing, but we can, if we haven't read anything, you can also talk about what you've been watching as well. So
sure,
talk about things that you've been watching. We can talk about that too.
I've been watching Voyager.
And also, it doesn't have to be science. It doesn't have to
Voyager.
Be to relate to
Voyager.
Yes,
Yes.
Voyager, yes.
paleontology
Voyager,
or anything like that. So
some of the best and also some of the worst of Star Trek.
Agreed,
God, yes.
but
Agreed.
it's so spiritually similar to the original series that I just don't care. I'm in it. I love that.
I would never.
Me too.
Yeah.
I never really got into Star Trek. I think I've talked about it with you guys before, but Star Trek felt a bit too goofy for me for some reason.
It is that.
Yeah, it's got some
goofy,
goof to it.
And it's an acquired taste, I would say.
And it's goofy in a not in a way that, for example, I'm just thinking of what's this other thing that I was into for a little while. What's that the show about the guy who's the astronaut. No, not the astronaut. He was an astronaut on like a testing new space shuttle prototype thing, and then he got caught in like some kind of interstellar vessel.
Oh, you're talking about
like
the
Buck Rogers.
puppet show with the puppets.
Yeah, the one with the puppets. I forgot.
Mystery
what it was.
Science Theater 2000? Oh, Farscape. That guy.
Farscape.
Farscape, yeah. So Farscape, I was like watching Farscape for a little while, and what's the other one? Lex, which was very strange. I was watching that for a little while as well. I think Star Trek was just in that uncanny valley place where it was just like not quite goofy and weird, and like it's very pedestrian in a way, but yet also very goofy.
It can be, but yeah.
So most Star Trek series really run the gamut between I can't believe they're doing this and this is really good.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Space opera.
Yeah, exactly.
Soap opera in space.
Yeah.
I just wish to issue a self-correction in that Nothronicus is 90 million years ago, not 70.
Wow. That's older than I thought. What's Falcarius then?
Let's see. I guess I could consult the internet.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Let's see.
Who will get it first?
He says early Cretaceous. Wikipedia says early Cretaceous. That's not super.
That not
Barrowmanian.
Not help me.
Barrowmanian. So 130 million years ago.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
That's not Nothronicus. That's
Falcarius.
Falcarius, yeah.
Still, that's like a gulf. I didn't think they were that far apart.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Nothronicus is highly derived if you look at it.
All right.
Yep.
I learned something tonight.
Awesome. That's what we aim to learn every podcast is something. All right, Zach.
Do you have any closing remarks, Zach?
Oh, closing thoughts. No, I'm just excited to get back into podcasting a little bit. Talk about stuff that I can't really talk about with anyone else because they're not as nerdy about paleo as me. So this is exciting.
All right, cool.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. So I might like talk about other things that I can't find anyone else to subject to. That's what this podcast is for, right?
Absolutely. It's not just for them, it's for us as well. I mean, how often do we get a chance to do this? Well, kind of weekly, don't we? The SciArt Hangout.
Do we really want to do this weekly? I like doing the Hangout weekly. I don't want to record podcasts on a weekly.
Let's do it like monthly, huh?
I will do it when my schedule allows. Monthly is probably great.
Monthly will do.
Same.
Monthly sounds good.
But we do tend to bring up these conversations a lot in the SciArt Hangout on a weekly basis. So that's one of the reasons to really look forward to the weekend for us anyway.
There you go.
All right, if that's it, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording here, and we'll figure out some sort of intro and outro later.
Yeah, Scott and I will work something out.
Edit and post.
Through the magic of editing.